Move that.
How many of us have dealt with unreasonable or negligent landlords?
That dog's gotta go right this minute.
I'm sure that collectively we've experienced the gamut of renting disasters.
You don't mind if I'm a little nosy, do you?
Well, we're getting used to it.
But have any of you had landlords who made you laugh, like the ones we're bringing you today?
Well, let's go.
Join us as we reminisce about the lives of the actors behind some of television's funniest landlords.
All right, I gotta warn you, these hands are lethal weapons.
Ethel and Fred Mertz. In the enormously successful I Love Lucy series, Vivian, Vance, and William Frawley played Fred and Ethyl Mertz, neighbors and landlords of Lucy and her husband Ricky, played by screen beauty and legend Lucille Ball and her real-life husband Desi Arnaz. According to their contemporary critics, Vance and Frawley strongly contributed to the show's success, which served as a prototype for similar programs, including The Honeymooners and The Flintstones.
Good. I'll go put on a new face.
Just a minute. You mean you've had a new face at home all this time and you're still wearing that
Oh, Fred.
Vivian Roberta Jones was born on July 26, 1909 in Cherryvale, Kansas. In her 20s, she changed her surname to Vance and moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where she quickly found work in theater. The local audiences loved her so much, they took up a collection to send her to New York in pursuit of her acting career. And in 1932, Vance started working on Broadway. In 1951, she was cast in I Love Lucy when the show's director, Mark Daniels, who had previously worked with Vance on a theater production, suggested her for the role of landlady Ethel Mertz.
Maybe this'll teach you to keep your big mouth shut. Just a minute. You thought it was a good idea then. Well, it stinks now.
The show made its television debut on October 15, 1951. In 1954, Vance's work on the show made her the first actress to win an Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress.
And I want to thank the greatest straight woman in show business, Lucille Ball.
After I Love Lucy ended, Vance continued working with Lucille Ball through her entire career. In fact, her last television appearance was with Ball in the television special Lucy Calls the President, filmed in 1977.
Is the president really coming here? Yes, that's true. Oh, Lucille!
That same year, Vance suffered a stroke that left her partially paralyzed. When she learned that the breast cancer she had been fighting since 1973 had migrated to her bones, she chose to stop eating due to the debilitating pain. On August 17, 1979, Vivian Vance died at age 70 of bone cancer. She was cremated and her ashes were spread in the San Francisco Bay. Of her passing, Desi Arnaz said, "It's bad enough to lose one of the great artists we had the honor and the pleasure to work with, but it's even harder to reconcile the loss of one of your best friends."
Is there anything you can think of that we can do to help you, Lucy? Anything.
Well, of course, it's just the extra rent that stands in the way.
Ethel Mertz's cantankerous husband was brought to life by the equally prickly William Frawley, who was born February 26, 1887 in Burlington, Iowa. His first job was as a stenographer for the Union Pacific Railroad, followed by work as a court reporter after he relocated to Chicago. Frawley soon turned to more creative endeavors, joining the vaudeville circuit and becoming the first singer to record My Melancholy Baby.
Come to me, my melancholy baby.
In 1925, Frawley began performing on Broadway. In 1933, he moved to Los Angeles and forged a successful film career.
And I make one big killing so I can go away someplace and settle down to something respectable.
In 1951, Frawley called Lucille Ball because he was interested in playing Fred Mertz. Known as a heavy drinker, Arnaz warned him that if he ever showed up drunk on set, he would be fired immediately. Instead, Frawley always showed up sober and with all his lines learned.
That's so. If I thought I really looked like this, I wouldn't blame Fred if he walked out on me right this minute.
Goodbye.
In turn, Frawley requested in his contract that he be allowed to skip filming if the New York Yankees were ever in the World Series. His professionalism also paid off because Frawley received numerous Emmy nominations for his work on the show.
Oh, Oh, boy, I'll say they're sealed.
Hey, I kind of like that. How come you never went in for one of those?
After I Love Lucy ended, Frawley joined the cast of My Three Sons with Fred McMurray.
I'm sure the only thing she has on her mind is cooking dinner for a few friends.
That's what they said about Lucretia Borgia. The next time I plan a meal around here, I'm going to throw it out in the first place.
He left the show after 5 seasons due to ill health. His last appearance on television was in 1965 in a cameo on The Lucy Show.
Hello.
Excuse me, are you the owner of this place?
Hey, boss. There's a dame here to see you.
You know, he reminds me of someone I used to know.
On March 3rd, 1966, William Frawley died of a heart attack 5 days after his 79th birthday. He was buried in the San Fernando Mission Cemetery in Los Angeles. His former co-stars, Desi Arnaz and Fred McMurray, were among the pallbearers at his funeral.
Miss Vivian Vance, ladies and gentlemen. Yes?
Despite I Love Lucy's huge success, Vance and Frawley greatly disliked each other. Most attribute their mutual hatred to Vance's resentment of having to play the wife of a man 22 years her senior.
Oh, how are you?
Hi.
Well, Vivian Vance and Bill Frawley. I would like you to meet Mr. Hayden. He's a Westinghouse dealer, one of our sponsors.
Hi, boss.
After the show ended its 6-year run, Ball and Arnaz offered the pair their own spin-off show.
William Frawley. Bill Frawley, ladies and gentlemen. Fred Mertz. Come out here, Bill. Take it out.
Frawley was interested, but Vance declined the opportunity because she didn't want to continue working with Frawley and also felt that the Mertzes' popularity would decline without the 2 main stars. Perhaps Vance's decision was sound in light of the short-lived sitcom The Ropers, which was a spin-off of the wildly popular Three's Company.
Hey, Jack, you know you're driving me crazy?
Sure, you are driving me crazy.
Played by Audra Lindley and Norman Fell, Helen and Stanley Roper were, respectively, the sex-starved and nosy landlords of Jack, Chrissy, and Janet, the hilarious trio of roommates on Three's Company.
What earthquake?
The big one, don't you remember? Oh, it was thrilling.
Thrilling?
Yeah, it was the first time our bed moved in years.
Audra Lindley was born September 24, 1918, in Los Angeles, California. In the 1940s, she moved to New York and made her Broadway debut in 1942. She soon added television to her repertoire. In the 1960s, Lindley took time off from acting to raise her 5 children. After her husband passed away in 1970, Lindley returned to acting, landing parts on numerous television series. Norman Fell was born March 24, 1924, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He graduated from Temple University with a bachelor's degree in drama. During World War II, Fell served as an Air Force tail gunner in the Pacific. After the war, he began his acting career on both stage and television. During the 1960s and 70s, Fell was one of television's most ubiquitous actors, appearing on almost every popular show of both eras.
I'm a witch. Don't you think that's strange?
Do you?
No.
He even starred in his own hit series, Dan August, alongside Burt Reynolds.
Well, now, Evans could have left his gun in the car. And she could have had a different motive, George.
Right. Suppose she found out that the blackmailer was working for that.
Any indication that...
Fell also appeared in film, notably Steve McQueen's Bullet.
Now, you are sick. Smuggling a dead man out of a hospital? And now 2 men killed who may have had nothing to do with it.
In 1977, Lindley and Fell landed their most famous roles as Helen and Stanley Roper on the soon-to-be hit series Three's Company.
So go to her, I hope you'll be happy.
I don't want to be happy. I want to be with you.
2 years after the show's debut, the duo were offered their own spin-off, The Ropers. When Fell and Lindley left Three's Company, they were replaced by Don Knotts as the new landlord, Mr. Furley.
Always the husband who's the last to know.
No, what? Oh, no! You don't think that we...
It's no use.
Sadly, The Ropers was a flop. Vale's career continued as he made guest appearances on numerous TV shows, while Lindley returned to the stage, even starring in a production with her second husband. On October 16, 1997, Audra Lindley died of leukemia at the age of 79. She was buried at Woodlawn Cemetery in Santa Monica, California, under a tombstone bearing her father's name. The following year, on December 14, 1998, Norman Fell died of bone cancer at the age of 74. He was interred at Mount Sinai Memorial Park Cemetery. All four of these actors had long and successful careers in Hollywood and Broadway. Together, they represented the golden age of television and its future. Over 20 years after the passing of the group's last survivor, their legacy endures. We cannot think of their characters without seeing their faces and chuckling along with them at some of the funniest moments on television. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell to be notified of new videos.